I think social media adds a huge aspect to it. That's probably the biggest difference where, back when I started, you had to go watch people live, had to maybe wait on the VHS highlight tape to come. And now that you have social media, that's been, look at me dating myself. And to realize that as a head coach, I can't do the same because they hold on to every word, not only your players, your staff. And so to be a lot more mindful and intentional with what I'm saying, people don't realize now, it's also different too. I talked about social media earlier. It's the same for those of us in the profession, whether you're trying to get in.
Did you know that I have two books? One called The Little Girl with Big Dreams. It's about an ambitious little girl who overcomes every no to say yes to a dream. The other is called Changing Lanes. It teaches you about the things that you learn from sport and how it translates to life after sport. Be sure to check these out at itsjustdifferentpod.com. Let's get to the episode. Welcome to the It's Just Different podcast, where we bring on people who have been where you are trying to go and or have helped countless athletes get there. I am your host, Ashley Roberts. We're just going to go with just serial entrepreneur. And we have another special guest. Current college coach, have been at Oregon State, Missouri, Tulane, been at Tulane for 10 years, and currently at Denver in her fourth year. We have Coach Woods. So excited that you have made time to be on the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here. It is definitely, the podcast time for me, but I'm excited to be a guest on your show.
I
So it's
appreciate you
about
coming.
time.
Yes, yes. And before we start, I'm gonna shout out Sarah, Coach Miles. She had been telling me I need to get you on the podcast, and I know she reached out to you and she was able to make it happen. So I had to shout out real quick.
Yes, yes. Give her a shout out because she kept blowing up my phone. It's like just check this out, check this out. So yeah, I'm glad we were able to work it in our schedules. And shout out, also want to shout out, well, I don't know what anyone else calls her. I still call her Day Day. Adeswa though, I was telling her I was doing this and she was too excited.
Yes, she got so many names, Day, everything. I call her Day. But yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, I love it. All right, well, we're gonna get right to it. I like to start this podcast out just with asking something that's different. And for you, I would like to know, what would you say is different as it relates to recruitment in the youth basketball from back then, whenever back then was, to now?
Well, this is my 23rd year overall coaching at the college level. I've been fortunate. Well, I've only coached Division One basketball, and to start my career in 2001 to now 2023, I think social media adds a huge aspect to it. That's probably the biggest difference where, back when I started, you had to go watch people live, had to maybe wait on the VHS highlight tape to come. And now that you have social media, that's been, look at me dating myself. But now that you have
Because you
social
don't look
media,
that old.
yeah, well, you know
You,
what they say. Um, no, it's funny because when we travel as a team, everyone wants to tell me where the locker room is, and here's a code. Like I'm the manager. I'm like, no, I'm the head coach, and every time everyone's always surprised. But I say to adding the social media element to it because not only are you able to, or for both athletes, compare ourselves, as soon as the game's over, but then our parents have the opportunity to do the same. So the
mhm.
constant kind of I don't want to say criticism, but the constant judgment of your game, and to also as a college coach be able to decipher that because sometimes some of these people get finicky with the film. Speed it up. The 10 seconds is 10 seconds, and now all of a sudden you're moving in like 3 seconds. How?
Yeah.
Like so, been able to decipher some of that, but I think social media has added a different element for all of us, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a coach, to just have to learn how to decipher through that.
Yep. That's good. So, fourth year, been at Denver for 4 years, and the stop before that was at Tulane, 10 years. What has been the biggest adjustment going from assistant coach, recruiting coordinator to head coach?
Gotcha. The recruiting coordinator, I really enjoyed it because, you get to build these relationships and you get to know the players differently.
Hmm.
And it was an adjustment, probably my first couple of years, getting the position in COVID, but to realize I'm not that person anymore on staff. They really don't want to talk to you like that, right? It's like we have academic teams or progress teams that our players are split up. And I remember, the first couple of years, I'm like, that used to be me, but no one's really coming to my office. And then to realize what I say really holds weight. As an assistant, you can just pop it off the mouth sometimes because you got a lot of opinions, but you're not making any decisions. I think this, I think that. And to realize that as a head coach, I can't do the same because they hold on to every word, not only your players, your staff. And so to be a lot more mindful and intentional with what I'm saying. And then I don't know where the time goes. Like I
Yeah.
never understood the head coaches that I work for is just like, I don't have time or put it on my calendar. I'm like, you can't remember that? And now I'm like, it wasn't on my calendar. I'm sorry, I didn't get to it. The last part that is, the as an assistant, it's nice because again, I think we should do this. I think we should do that. You got a lot of I think.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Make a decision and to realize all the other little decisions that you make throughout the day because it's your program, right? So
Mm-hmm.
everything's a reflection of you. So being able to happen to make those decisions was an adjustment. I remember early on, I'm looking around like, okay, well, somebody's asking me, what do you want to do here? I'm like, I don't know. What do we want to do? Like, well, you got to decide. I'm like, oh wait, that is me. I'm not, not
I
an
am the
assistant
one that got to
anymore.
make the
Yeah,
decision.
yeah. I'm looking around like somebody else is going to make it for me. So all the decisions you have to make, bless it, is just,
Mhm.
I wouldn't say it's overwhelming, but it's like, it does get a bit draining, like simple things. I don't care what you wear, just as long as it's New Balance.
Yeah.
As long as it's New Balance, I'm to that point.
Yep. Now that makes sense. And I want to kind of go back just a little bit because there are people who watch this podcast who want to be coaches or assistant coaches who are looking to be head coach. What was that process like for you? Like, how did you go from Oregon State to as an assistant to head coach at Denver?
Yeah, so I went Oregon State, Missouri, and then my 10 years at Tulane. And then from Tulane, I became the head coach here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it, honestly, is just networking. People don't realize now, and it's also different too. I talked about social media earlier. It's the same for those of us in the profession, whether you're trying to get in, as soon as you have an athlete I want to recruit, first thing I'm asking for is their social media handles, right? Not necessarily what they've posted, but what they've liked to kind of get an idea of their personality. Well, it's the same too for us that are coaches. When I hire somebody, I'm going to look at their social media. What type of vibe are they? What type of message? What type of brand are they putting out? And going from Tulane, being at Tulane for 10 years, both the academic profile, Tulane's private, DU's private, so that kind of stood out to me. But to network and really build your network. But the difference from my time as an assistant, I'm networking with other assistants. You're
Mm-hmm.
and the you're next to other people on the baseline. When I got serious about becoming a head coach, I became intentional about the different organizations I was a part of so I can expand my network. So when jobs came open, then my name would be somehow fresh in their mind in a sense of if they had like women leaders was one that I joined and I paid for it out of pocket. But the networking part and becoming intentional because sometimes we think, oh, Ashley's going to help me get this job. Well, is Ashley in a position to actually do the hiring, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we're networking with other assistant coaches. Well, they're not hiring other assistant coaches, right? Who's hiring head coaches? ADs. So I needed to figure out how I can get my name in that same rooms with athletic directors. And that might mean joining something that maybe is outside your realm, but really trying to expand your network and build it. And then, like I tell our players, I tell our staff, every time you leave your house, your apartment, you're on an interview, somebody's always watching.
Mm-hmm.
Left Missouri to go to Tulane, I actually didn't apply for the Tulane job. And back then in the profession, it was really how I grew up in the profession. You look at a staff, they'll say, "Oh, they already have their black female. She must be the recruiting coordinator. They
Ah.
already have their, white female. She does this." And that's how the staff. Rarely did you see two black females on the same staff or because there was always just room for one. And so I remember I didn't apply for the Tulane job because they already had their black female. And I was like, well, I can't get that job because they have a black female. And someone else who I didn't even know, like that, Lisa was looking for a recruiting coordinator and then said, hey, like Doshia Woods is available. I think you should reach out. So long story short, when she reached out, I told her that story. I said, I didn't apply because I didn't think I had a chance. She was like, I'm looking for a recruiting coordinator. I didn't say she had to be black. She had to be a
Yeah.
female. Like, I'm looking for XYZ and you bring XYZ. And, it really was a great fit for me. And I think it was also a lesson into sometimes we want to pigeonhole ourselves. We look at different situations and we make assumptions about it. You don't know if you're going to be a fit or not if you don't put yourself out there to kind of ask what they're looking for and what they need in a
Mm-hmm.
head coach or assistant or whatever the role may be.
That's good. That's good. Now I want to kind of go into AAU, a little bit of AAU. this point of the podcast, talking a lot about AAU. When you are going to these tournaments, what are some of the things you are looking for?
The first thing is we have a list once we go in there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I have a list of. I like to tell people, if you're interested in a school, check their style of play, check their rosters, because sometimes they're like, well, I know she can play for you. I know she can play. Well, do you know how we play? Like, do you know how we play? So now going into my fourth year at Denver, I know how we play. We play a 5-out motion. We want 30, shots at the basket, 30 shots in the paint at the U, and then 33s.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing we're looking for is there an AU program that plays our style? We have a kid on our team right now. It's honestly because our AU team plays our style, and we went to watch it, and so we'll probably recruit kids from that
That program.
system just because,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for that program, because we know they play the system. But then once we get there, it's what do we need on our current roster? Do we need a little bit more athleticism? Do we need some size? And we try to decipher it. Once we get to that part, then it's looking at your motor. I always feel like if you're spending the time and energy to play in the summer, we're looking at your motor. How well do you? Because not everybody's going to finish every play, right? You might have a good pass and she might drop it, but is your motor to um, be impactful both sides of the ball? Is your shot decent? And then the decision making part, again, for us, if we're playing this read and react type of offense, trying to watch how people make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
When they make decisions, if you come down on a break and you have numbers, what decision are you making then? If you're constantly just trying to be one on one, that's not going to excite me, because I will want you to pass the ball. We want uncontested shots. The AM1 mixtape doesn't impress me because it's not consistent
Yeah.
at this level. So it might be a little different than that, but when I say what we need, I learned that from both Lisa and Gino. Actually, he's like, I can go get the best players, but if it's not what I need, then now I just got a mess on my hands. So really trying to put the puzzle together for that particular team.
Mm-hmm.
Now the caveat, right, is the portal and how that factors in now. And so you might think you're building for the next 2 or 3 years, but the reality is it could just be a 7-month team, because in
Yeah.
7 months somebody's unhappy.
Yep. What's your thoughts on the portal? Like,
We don't have enough time
they
for that. No, but honestly, I actually
just
did a
need to
talk.
hire. They need a whole new
Uh,
position for the portal.
yes, I did a Zoom on the portal, like when it first became a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I honestly, I'm probably on both sides of the coin. I like it for the student athletes, but I wish that they also had all the information before they went and made the decision. Sometimes you want the grass to be greener somewhere else, and you get
Mm-hmm.
there and it's brown, all because of one situation that you didn't want to have patience to work through or something like that. I do like the idea that they can kind of make the decisions for themselves, but I'm going to use us for example. We're in the quarter system here at DU, so that means the entire spring there's no basketball since our season's over, and we're only in 8 hours. Well, that starts over as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're a private academic school. It's about 75 grand to go here. So if you go in the portal, do you have a plan to pay for that last semester, that last quarter? Are your grades where they need to be? Because yeah, you can get in a portal right away, but are you able to transfer to said school and still be eligible? Like those parts, I wish that they had a lot more information with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for how I run my program here, how we are as a staff is, if you do leave, it's because you want to get closer to home, or you want to try something different, but it's not because of how we treated you. And then obviously like playing time. We had our Thanksgiving meal yesterday, and I'm gonna call out one of our bigs. She's a grad student for us, and everybody's going around saying what they're thankful for. And she was
Mm-hmm.
like, Coach Woods told me no first. She told me no first, but like, look at me. And they'll tell you, I'm pretty honest. I told her we didn't need your position in April when you emailed, but it changed in May because
Mm-hmm.
because of the portal. And so when we called her back, it was like, yeah, that's what I said then, but this is what I'm saying now if you're still interested. And we try to be very upfront and honest. Again, you may not like where you stand with me, but you won't have to guess. You
Yeah.
you definitely won't have to guess.
Did you know that I have two books? One called The Little Girl with Big Dreams. It's about an ambitious little girl who overcomes every no to say yes to a dream. The other is called Changing Lanes. It teaches you about the things that you learn from sport and how it translates to life after sport. Be sure to check these out at itsjustdifferentpod.com. Let's get to the episode. Yep, that's a good point. Going a little bit back to the tournament, AAU tournaments. You talked about the things that you like from kids, the things that you want to see. Let's say you like this kid, you see this kid, you like them. Or let me take that back. Let's say one of your assistants see this kid, like the kid. What does that look like from an offer process? Like, I feel like a lot of parents are getting the offer a little confused of like, okay, they like me, but they haven't offered, or whatever the case may be. What's the offer process for y'all?
I'm so glad you asked this question because my staff would tell you, I am stingy. I am stingy with the offers because I feel like it's inconsistent. If I just see you and yeah, of course, and this is how I'll typically say, if it's about your game, absolutely you can play for us. You can play at our level, but I don't know you. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know me. How do you know this is going to work? So I feel like offering somebody right away is inconsistent with my personality because if I can't say one hand I'm about relationships and then we don't build one.
Mm.
So what has changed though, that's how it was probably like the first 3 years. My staff's like, okay, we got to offer this kid. We got to offer this kid. So I've loosened up on that a little bit. But what I don't like is I want to avoid the portal in the spring, right? So I want to take my time on the front end and to be honest and to build that relationship. Now, we do have some that want the offer to know how interested you are. So what I've started to say is if you're not ready to make a decision, why are you pressing me for an offer
Mm-hmm.
then? Because Cindy, who I work for at Missouri, and we were towards the bottom of the Big 12. And she'd always say, well, I don't want my offer to be used to catapult for something else, because now they can see, oh, Missouri offers. So now they pick up 3 or 4 other offers. So I say all that to say I've changed my perspective a little bit, but I still, as much as I can, want to try to build a relationship first. We've offered a couple young kids, but honestly, we've either FaceTime or we've had Zoom or we've had some type of correspondence. They're not ready to make a decision now, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a big class. But I think with the parents or athletes, if they're really looking for offer, be honest with yourself. Are you looking for an offer because you're genuinely interested in the University of Denver, or are you looking for the offer so we can jumpstart somebody else? So
Mm-hmm.
we can jumpstart, maybe let's just use Tulane. Maybe you really want the offer for Tulane, but they hadn't offered. But once they see we did, then they're
They
going to.
ready to
So
do it.
I would,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly. So I would encourage the parents and the athletes to be honest about if you're not ready to make a decision, does the offer right now really matter? And I think for us too, um, trying to I'm partial to high school kids. My staff would tell you I prefer high school kids, honestly, over a portal kid. And that's why we have, last year we had 5 freshmen on the team. I'm not opposed to that but I want to have a plan for them. I don't want to say, okay, I'm going to recruit Ashley. Then all of a sudden, I got 4 Ashleys on the team. Like I want to
Mm-hmm.
watch you develop. I like that process of it. And so some of it is, we might need to wait till December, January to see how those kids are coming along. Okay, she's coming along sooner than what I thought, or she's going to need more time. So I'm going to need this. So I really do try to take that approach with it. So that's why the offers like right now with our 25s, you don't have any offers out, and it's a lot because I don't know how our current freshmen are really going to shake out, and so I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to over recruit, and then all y'all end up in the portal anyway because somebody's
Right.
unhappy.
Right. And you said that yes, y'all will offer a young kid. Like, how young do y'all go?
Like we have offers out to 227s right now,
Okay.
honestly. Now the caveat is they came to camp and there's some like history there, but probably the freshman year, I'm not like a seventh, eighth grade type offer
Yeah.
person. But if there's like a relationship there, and like I said, if they've been to campus and there's been, or to camp, I can tell you each camp that I've had since I've been here, elite camp, we've offered somebody out of elite
Mm.
camp. And sometimes people think, and this isn't a plug for our elite camp at all, but sometimes people think, oh, it's just a money grab. No, like a kid we signed out of Illinois, we only had 12 people at camp and we were going to cancel it. And she came down. I was like, look, she's a 6'3" kid. There's somebody that we wanted to look at a little longer. So I told the staff, so let's just run it with 12 people. And I'm glad we did because we could work her out differently and see how she can fit in with what we're trying to do. People may not understand it all the time, but that's how we use our elite camp to really take the players through drills that our
Mm-hmm.
players are going through, things like that, to see if it's going to be a fit. So we can see past the AU. That
Yep.
same kid, she didn't play quite a bit for her AU team once she got the offer, and we all kind of knew that, anticipated that, but we saw what we needed to see at camp already, so we didn't have to stress about judging her that way.
Yep. You taking me so many different ways. I keep having these questions that come in my head. I'm coming back to these tournaments, but I want to talk
Okay.
about the camps for a little bit because that's a good point. I think at the end of the day, there are some camps that it is a money grab, or there are just some camps that some kids don't need to go to. Like they're just kind of going to some of the camps that they hear, they see, they're going to the bigger camps or whatever. Can you talk about that? Like, how can we help parents choose the right camps for their kids?
Well, I think to figure out A, if there's like some legit interest, both
Mm-hmm.
with the kid and the place you're going to see. And then the other part, we had a few at so we had two elite camps. In our second elite camp, we had a couple athletes saying how much they enjoyed it because of the size. Again, it's not a money grab. And if we can probably cap ours at like, a 50, 60 on the high end, because we have three full-size courts, so we have like 8 baskets to set up. But I
Mm-hmm.
would have the parents or yourself just ask, like, how big do you cap the camp? Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to elite camp and if it gets close to that 100 plus number and you don't have enough staff to manage that, then it might be a money grab.
Mm-hmm.
No disrespect to other people, but if it's smaller and you have the staff to kind of like see and evaluate, and I think asking them, okay, if I come to camp, how does the evaluation process work?
Mm-hmm.
Are there 5-on-5 games? Are there just position work? Will your coaches be involved in position work, or just your players? Will your coaches be involved in evaluating? Because at one camp, our players just did it. All right, because everybody's here for summer school, gave us a chance to evaluate. The next camp, we had to work as coaches, and it's a little bit of both that way. But both ways, I don't think anybody left not feeling like. And there was one kid actually came from Texas, and I told her, I said, you play hard. You're probably not this level, this skill set. I will make a call for you somewhere else. And she ended up committing to a smaller school. So all of that happens too. But I think on the front end is just asking, you don't want to say, oh, is this a money grab? But just
Yeah.
how big is the camp? Is it going to be capped? What's the evaluation process like, especially if she's really interested? If she's
Mm-hmm.
not really interested, and it seems really big, other than just getting an experience, I don't know if it's worth going.
Yep. The kid that you offered, that came to camp, were you already recruiting her?
Yeah, well, so we saw her in May actually. So
Okay.
we had just seen her. No,
Okay.
actually, it was April. It was April, the same time as Boo Williams. It was April we saw her, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay. Went and saw her again in May, and it was like, I still need to see more. And so we said, hey, we have this camp if you can make it, and we were actually getting ready to cancel it, and then she
Mm-hmm.
signed
And
up.
that's what she
So
signed up.
yeah,
Okay.
so that was like a quicker process. But yeah, she knew we were recruiting her, and
Yeah.
and we'll say that to a lot of our recruits, like, hey, we got camp if you guys want to come. But it's always that part of it too, where people think, oh, you just want the money. It's
Yeah.
not about the money. It's not that big.
Right.
to,
Right.
to
Yeah. And I asked because, like, I don't know. I feel like for me, and I could be wrong, so I want to get your thoughts too. But I think that kids should go to camps that the school is recruiting them. Like if the school is not recruiting you, you haven't talked to the school or anything. Me personally, I'm just like go to a different camp. But I also have seen some kids pick up an offer just because they produce well, play well, and the coach had never seen them. What's your thoughts? Because these camps can get expensive.
They can, and I honestly, you and I probably agree that way. If they're recruiting you, I definitely put that a high priority, regardless of what you think of the camp, right? If
Mm-hmm.
I put it this way, I like, 'cause we also have kids in our roster right now. I like who likes us. If a kid works hard and they show that they like us and they can fit into what we're doing, I trust my staff that we'll be able to develop them in something. But there has to be a two-way street of some interest back in a sense of like, you're asking questions about our program, not your basic questions, but like in my case, okay, you guys say you. I spoke to a 26 couple nights ago, and she's like, okay, you say you like to shoot a lot of threes. How do you get those threes, and how do you think I could help? Like, it was a very an intelligent question up, for just a sophomore in high school. But I would agree with you though that if they're not really recruiting you, I don't know if that camp is the highest priority,
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to go blend in, but probably with the kids that they've actually invited and want to see. So
Mm-hmm.
unless you trust your game to be a separator once you go there, go who's showing you some love too, and you might find out that you like a little bit more than you anticipated. But yeah, I'm not a fan of just going to camps just because, oh, I went to set school because it was a P5 or this was big school. Okay, well, did you waste your time and money? Because were they really recruiting you? You got a nice T-shirt out of it,
Mm-hmm.
but did you want it out of it? So I think that's great advice to go to camps where they're recruiting you.
Yep. Yep. And that's
Because
good. Go ahead. My bad.
I said no, because that's too, you're already kind of on the radar differently than somebody that's just going to show up like a Mary Smith as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to like Ashley Roberts. If we knew that we've been, talking to you, oh, great, she's coming to camp. Oh, now we really can either make sure we use XYZ drill or do these different things because now she's coming to camp.
Yep. And y'all heard it. She said they offered a kid from camp. I think that a lot of directors, like, because most camps are in June, right? And then you got live period in July. So there are a lot of directors that will tell kids, like, you don't need to go to camp. If they really want you, they're not going to tell you to come to camp. They're going to offer you regardless. Yeah, it
And
happens
see,
a
and
lot.
see, you know what cracks me up about that? Again, coaching as long as I have is it's so contradictory sometimes with like the advice that we give the kids. So if they
Hmm.
really want you, but then you'll say, um, build a relationship or get to know them or all of these different things. Well, what better time than coming to a league camp? Like
Hmm.
if it's about building a relationship and getting to know someone. So I think the information we have to really be mindful of what we're telling these kids because they're holding on to everything that you say, but it has to also make sense. And the caveat to all of that is not all of you guys are the same as
Hmm.
AU coaches and things like that, and definitely not all of us are the same. So I'm telling you, this is how. Even my personality now as a head coach and how I recruit is very different than those that I worked for before. Then if you call, another university, University X, they might have a different style, and that's hard to
Hmm.
decipher. So that's why it's important to figure out what you're really looking for in the process, and is there a way to kind of get there and obtain that? Because listening to everybody, we all have a different way and a different approach. Doesn't mean it can't be successful. We just have different ways that we view it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, makes sense. You talked about earlier, you said that you prefer high school kids over the portal. Why is that?
I just like the 4-year process. I enjoy coaching this demographic. I like getting the like wide-eyed, bushy-tailed freshmen, and not been able to like find their to find anything out. Right, they're just figuring out life once they get here, and to watch that process through the 4 years, not just them as a player, but them as a person. I like that development part of it, and I've always been like that. Whether it's been for 4 years or 5 years, but I like that process of it. I like that
Mm-hmm.
process, the development. And I think it's consistent with our personality. Nothing against any transfers that we've had or grad students, but I know for me and my style, it goes super quick to develop all of those relationships. And if you're getting a grad student, it's less than a year. You get them in June, the season's done in March, so you're not even together
Mm-hmm.
a year to try to accelerate all of this. So I prefer a high school kid. Again, just to be able to be there through that whole process.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing, like getting a freshman, grooming them, seeing them just come in, and then watching them leave as a senior, like just watching their process. Like
Yes,
that
we
makes
have
me think
one.
of we talking at the same time.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
No, that makes me think of I just had one of my kids. She's actually been with me since sixth grade. And this was her last year, was this past season, and like it just made me think of like when she first came in new to basketball, and then like watching her now get ready to go to college and actually like pick up photography. Like she's just like picking up different things just from playing in the AAU program. Like she will come around me a lot, and wanted to do photography, but like it just made me just look at the process of this little sixth grader who's now a senior.
Yeah. And it's like, the joy that you can find in that when they just, really come in either thinking they know so much and to get humbled, right? And then to see that humility live out in other ways where now all of a sudden they become the teacher to some of the younger kids
Mm-hmm.
and watch that. But I like that process of just watching the growth. It's like this seed and this flower like growing right before you. And that part is, obviously you want to be able to win games and win championships, but I think not getting lost and the joy of the journey. And I think that freshmen, younger kids do that for me because there's still so much curiosity to learn as well,
Yeah.
and it's not so set in their ways.
Yep. Yep. Have you probably haven't because y'all are in season. But have you like taken a look at spring summer of like what the new schedules look like? I noticed that Nike dropped today. They're taking all four stops. Have y'all like looked at any of that?
No, and I did see, it's funny because I did see a couple of the Nike stops that were like different dates, and I was
Yep.
like, hmm. So yeah, we hadn't looked. I know for us, especially being at a mid-major, we have to be mindful of our budget. So we pretty much will
Mhm.
go where a bulk of the teams are, which is why you'll see us in Chicago a lot. There's a
Mhm.
ton of teams, a ton of different leagues between
Mhm.
Blue Stars, Champions League, and Nike to
Mhm.
be able to kind of maximize it. We haven't looked that far ahead, but I do know there's a couple circuits that we want to be able to get on
Mhm.
get to this year. We just need more teams there.
Yeah,
We just need
so
more teams.
that's pretty much where I was going with the question. This year, Nike has taken all four stops. I don't know when this episode is dropping, so I don't know what we'll see by the time this actually released. But who knows? Adidas, Under Armour, they might do the same thing. And then you guys select 40, all these different things. How do you guys like determine exactly? Like you kind of just said it based on the amount of teams, but when there's so many tournaments going on, like how are you guys really like laying out which tournaments to go to? How many coaches is going to that tournament? What does that look like?
It really depends on who we're currently recruiting. So we'll
Mhm.
we'll be developing a list all kind of season, and then once we get to probably February, March, we'll see, okay, what really makes sense for us, who's really interested, and
Mhm.
then try to see those kids. And then after we say there's four kids like that, right? We only have right now currently, whenever this episode drops, we only have like two scholarships for our 25 class,
Oh
right?
wow.
Done with our 24s. Well, we're so young because I do like high school kids. We have 9 freshmen or sophomores on the team, so we may or may not even sign a 25. Right? For us, it's going to depend on how does our roster really look, or what are we anticipating. But I say all that to say, let's say there are 3 kids on there. We'll try to make sure we get out and see those 3. Probably myself, or if another assistant hadn't seen them, to get another set of eyes. I still like to get all of our eyes on somebody, and if not, at least 2 sets of eyes, and they have to have the same passion for the kid in a sense of like we should offer or not. If
Mhm.
it's split, then send somebody else out and get a third set of eyes. But after that, it's really just which event has the most teams there and what's going to make the
Mhm.
most sense travel wise. So you want to be able to like I won't say the circuit, but there's one circuit we haven't had a chance to cover, and
Mhm.
it's because on like a team or two that really makes sense for us. But it's my goal for us to at least get in one of their stops
Yeah.
between the spring and the summer just to see. So it becomes tricky, but it really honestly comes down to where you can get the most look, right? If you got 3 kids on there, you see them all in the morning session. Is there enough teams for you to kind of build relationships and build your list after that? So that's why a lot of us get caught up in a Nike or a bigger tournament, just because there's going to be a lot more
I love.
teams
Yeah.
for you during the breaks.
Yeah, I know last year it was hard for me trying to schedule our tournaments. Like I had a schedule in March, but it changed so many times because in July everybody was changing, right? And me being independent, you just talked about it. Like we're trying to be where the teams are going to be because we know the coaches are going to be there. But I think this year it's going to be even harder because of
Yes.
how they have the calendar. Like you don't have that first stop in July now. They're both at the end of July, and then there's extra stops. So it's gonna be pretty hard to get a good schedule together.
And I think it's becoming harder, like both for you guys to put together a schedule, than for us too, because things get so watered down.
Mm-hmm.
Back 23 years ago when I started, Nike was exactly what it was. AU Nationals were exactly. I remember covering, I was at Oregon State at the time. I was covering 12 and under AU Nationals because that's what you did then to kind of get a jump start on your list. But you knew like the best teams were coming. Now it's like everybody got a tournament, everybody's got a team, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody can't play at
Yep.
our level. And
Mm-hmm.
so you're trying to decipher all that. And then even when you are putting together a team, you get to a tournament, and just because you're independent, they assume your skill level is here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you mollywop somebody by 30 points. Well, we can't evaluate your kids like that. Or I just want to go play on this tight top team because they're playing at Nike. Well, I tell people I don't care if you play independent or if you play on a top team. We just want to see you play. Play is the key word. We can't evaluate you sitting there.
Yep.
So don't put yourself in it because now with social media, again, your team, you guys are independent. Well, if you got players, we'll find you,
Mm-hmm.
or you will make sure we find them. But not getting caught up in I have to go play on this set circuit. No, go where you can play, especially AAU,
Yep.
because it's time and energy to. You can't evaluate you sitting there.
Yep. Let's talk about that a little bit. Shoe circus, independent, all of that. You just kind of gave your thoughts on it, but I would love for you just to kind of help the parents out a little bit, with that. I think that at the end of the day, there are just some parents who truly don't know. Like you have this coach saying, come play here, that coach saying, play here, or you need to play up. Like, what are your thoughts with that shoe team versus independent, playing up, all of the
You
above?
know, whether it's a shoe team, independent, playing up, it does not matter. We just really want to see you play. And I don't think people realize as coaches, if you're playing on court, 51 and you can play, we're going to come back there.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to come back there. We're going to go down the stairs. So I really would encourage parents to not get caught up in all the chaos of, yeah, some of them are all shiny and new. They might have the best, shoes or the best bags and all this extra stuff. But is your child having a chance to play? Because we can't, I say this all the time, we can't evaluate you sitting on the bench. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't, it doesn't matter what team, if you're playing up, down, none of that. We just want to see you play. A lot of us are able to, yeah, one of the kids that offered, this is a true story. She's one of our younger kids. I watched her maybe 5 minutes and I got up and left. And so parents like reached out. I was like, oh, I don't think she liked it. No, I knew this kid was good in 5 minutes. I already knew
Mm-hmm.
what I was going to do, like, because I'd done it long enough. I already know how we play. And somebody that skill set, that age, I was like, but she was playing on like court 62. I saw what I needed to see. Let me go see somebody else. Now, it wasn't anything like that. But my point is, get on a team where you could actually play. And if I'm a parent or a kid, like just ask about playing time, especially at that level, because the plus side to so many teams out there is go find a team that you can play. Go
Mm-hmm.
find a team that you can play on and actually, be able to, make mistakes and things like that. But if you're just playing for the name, then you have to be ready for the flip side of that too, which might mean no offers or maybe not the appropriate offers for you because you're playing limited minutes or out of position or something like that. So asking those hard questions and, you know, I know this is sometimes a little more easier said than done, but if you find the team trying to also stick with that coach in the process in the AU process, because we look at that as well. If I've seen you played on 3 or 4 AAU teams, I'm guessing you might transfer when you
Mm.
get to me, right? If
Say it
there's no
again.
relationship,
Say it again.
yeah, if there's no relationship there, right? If there's a relationship there, then maybe you can say, I transfer teams. My mom couldn't afford it, or
Mm-hmm.
my parents had to make this. uh, Obviously, we can see that. But when you're hopping teams, and if you play on one team in April, another team in May, then another team in July, that doesn't excite us because now we're thinking, okay, are you going to quit that easy on us? Are you going to hop that easy on us? So having, not that you have to explain your every move, but having some context because we're looking at that as well and recruiting. And if it comes down to, one that has, jumped ship 3 4 times as opposed to somebody that's stuck with you the whole time and you can vouch for them differently, we're probably going to listen to that a little bit more than you trying to explain why you've had to hop teams.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now you talked about earlier, making a decision on kids. Like one of the kids you talked about in April, you didn't need or whatever the case may be, and then in May you did. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of 2024s wanting to hold off. You got the transfer portal, you still got COVID year, all of those different things. And around March, April, schools might be looking. What's your thoughts? Should kids be holding off, waiting on D1, or should they be taking the offers that they have now, whether that's JUCO or D2?
Oh, this is someone back in my playing days. I played JUCO,
Where did you play?
and then went Barton County Community College in Great
I
Bend,
played it.
Kansas.
I played at South Plains.
Okay, okay, yeah, I'm a big. It's funny now that I'm in private school because I'm always like keeping tabs on JUCOs and looking because I feel like JUCOs get a bad rap. Too,
Mm-hmm.
everybody has different reasons that they go. Like for me, I played softballs in the summer. I never played basketball to this capacity, so to be able to be seen, it wasn't a thing because I played softball in summer. So
Mm-hmm.
JUCO, growing up in Kansas, I'm sure it's the same for you in Texas. It wasn't like, you're a lesser player or something wrong with you. It was just a
Mm-hmm.
lot of good JUCOs that also gave you an opportunity. Um, but I think this, at 24, if you find somebody that's the right fit, take the offer. I don't care what level. If it is a D1, if you are chasing a D1 dream and that's important to you, then also be ready on the flip side that it may not happen. And maybe that's why some kids are waiting is, I want to go Division 1 and I'm going to wait. But there's a lot of good Division 2s out. I grew up being a ball girl for Washburn University in Topeka, Kansas, and I think they went to like four straight tournaments,
Mm-hmm.
two Elite Eight and Sweet 16. So the opportunity is to get basketball is an opportunity to have this free education, right? This opportunity to kind of build this other kind of sisterhood. The 24s waiting, I think what gets frustrating sometimes with coaches, from us coaches, is waiting is okay, you said academics was important to you. You said style of play was important to you. You said culture was important to you. If we checked all those boxes, so then you just say, if you're coaching at a Division 2 and I'm at a Division 1, just say I want to go Division 1 and leave it at that. And we
Mm-hmm.
can pivot. But when you say I'm looking for all of these things and we know we offer those things, then just also be honest too. Okay, Denver's too far. Denver is, you got too many guards. Then just be honest with what the next part of that is. So, I don't know. I think waiting or not waiting is such a risk, and
Mm-hmm.
um, some people might pay off just because you said you have the portal that there could be coaches positions open that you didn't anticipate. Um, but I'm one that once you find a school that checks all your boxes, because you said it was important to you, um, go be home. Especially if there's somebody that wants you as well. You could wait for this Division 1 offer when you spent all year telling another school relationships are important. All of
Mm-hmm.
this is important. But then you get to the spring and you're still available, and the first Division 1 offer you get, you take it.
You take it.
But I thought you just said it was relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So I think all of us, college coaches, AU coaches, players, parents, everybody needs to be honest about what they really want in the process. We ask kids all the time, like, tell me your top three reasons, top three things that you're looking for. And so when we check all the boxes, and I know we try to recruit in a way that if you tell us no, it's going to be a hard no. It's going to be like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to make this phone call because I really don't have it other than I just, wanted to stay closer to home or I just like vibe better. But everything that's important to you that we can offer, we try to show you that and do that. But I think everyone being honest about what they really want out of the process. And if it's, Division 1, though I've only coached at this level, it's not everybody's not made for it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can play in college, but there's different levels for different reasons
Yep.
and different levels for different skill sets. And you need to be honest about what it is that you really want out of the experience because we lost a kid who's thriving at a Division 2 here. And I know I wouldn't say like Division 1 is too demanding, but you get your summers off.
Mm-hmm.
You get
Mm-hmm.
your off, and it's a whole different. So yeah, it might look good. And the last thing I'll say too is, I'll tell this to kids: do you wanna have a great signing day, and walk around school your senior year bragging because I signed it as Division 1, or do you want to have a great career saying I played Division 1? Because those are
Mm-hmm.
two different things. And some are just looking to say, oh yeah, I'm at a Division 1, but are you ready for the process that it takes to be at a Division 1? And if you're not, that's okay. There's different levels for different mindsets and different reasons. But I think some pigeonhole themselves chasing something that it isn't necessarily obtainable because it's going to require them to work a different way than they're prepared to.
Yeah. And you said something earlier basically about checking all the boxes. Like, I really think that at the end of the day, the parent or the kid, most of them, don't really know what they want. They just say they want to go D1, but I feel that a lot of people are making the wrong decision because they're not asking the right questions. What are some questions you feel like parents and players should be asking when they're on these recruiting calls?
You know, ooh, another good question. One is definitely asking about, the academic side, the athletic side. But once you dig deeper out after those questions is, where do you see me? How do you see me
Mm-hmm.
fit into your system? Sometimes we may not have seen you play like live, but, um, you know, if I come and see you play it in April, is there anything in particular you want to see if this is a school you're really interested in? And then asking, for us, we set up some Zooms and put our players in, um, you know, a, one of the breakout rooms, asking the players questions about, what do they like about it? What's the most
Mm-hmm.
challenging part about it? Where did you need the most assistance? And I think when it comes to also like the coaching staff is, what would your former players say about you? What
Mm-hmm.
would they say about you? What would they say about your coaching style? And then, asking these little scenarios if, I'm one that treats everybody fair, not equal. So you and I both get, let's say Ashley and Mary gets in trouble doing the same thing. It's not going to be the same consequence.
All
It
right.
might have been Mary first time and Ashley's 10th time, but I think asking those questions and then for the parents figuring out and the kid, like, how does she really need to be coached? Right? Like,
Ooh, that's a good one.
I'm not a big yeller. I have some sarcasm that I've worked on, but I'm not like a, in your face, yell, cuss you out, all that. But if you need that, that's okay. I'm probably not the coach for you. But
Mm-hmm.
understanding the coaching style and then how you really, and I ask that to prospects a lot, like, who's your favorite coach and why? And what made them your favorite coach? So to even kind of see, do we even have some characteristics that might match up? So being able to ask just those things first, starting with your kid about who's your ideal coach to play for? What does that look like? What does it mean? What's your ideal position? A lot of times we'll watch them with AAU and then watch with our high school team, and their roles are different. I'll ask them, which one do you like better? Because if I saw you play AAU and I really like that you played the off guard spot, but then you get to high school, now you're the point guard all of a sudden, but I'm seeing you as something else. We need to try to identify that earlier. We're going to be on the same page. If you're coming in thinking you're going to be a point guard and I see you more as an off guard, let's just kind of talk about that right now, like what it looks
Mm-hmm.
like. And don't get bored asking us questions. I think, we'll be on the phone a lot, whether it's a prospects or the parents. Don't get bored asking questions, but then also know too that sometimes it may not that you can't play at this level or that you can't play for us. We just don't need your position. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything more than just the makeup of our current team. It doesn't mean that she's not talented or this person is more talented. It just might be what we need. And how I've always recruited in this process is I have so many relationships with players that it didn't even come to play at the school I played at, but will still, like when I got the job here as a head coach, a lot of them text me like, hey, not to transfer, but just like, so happy for you, congratulations. So the relationship piece, when you say you're building that way, because we all really do as college coaches. If I may not need the position, like, hey, I don't need a point guard, but I really like this kid, you should follow
Mm-hmm.
up, or here's our highlights. We do that so many times that I don't think players or parents realize that. But then also realizing, you know, being messy, in
Yeah.
the process. You don't have to be messy because as y'all all talk, we all talk
I'll
too.
talk.
And
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot going into, taking a chance on a kid and only to feel like you missed some red flags that someone didn't warn you about. So we all talk and don't put yourself in a position where you're going to burn bridges because again, you might go to
Did you know that I have two books? One called The Little Girl with Big Dreams. It's about an ambitious little girl who overcomes every no to say yes to her dream. The other is called Changing Lanes. It teaches you about the things that you learn from sport and how it translates to life after sport. Be sure to check these out at itsjustdifferentpod.com. Let's get to the episode.
South Plains, let's just say South Plains and Barton are both um, Division One schools. You might go to South Plains and be like, you know what, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, but because of how you burned the bridge, Barton's not going to call you, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to call you second time around. So with that is, we don't. Anytime a kid calls and it's like, hey, thanks but no thanks, I'm like, good luck, crush your senior year, and I'll be watching from afar. There's no need to. I'm not going to beg you. I want people that want to be here. And if we
Mm-hmm.
didn't check your boxes, we didn't check your boxes.
Yeah. This is really good. I keep coming up with all these questions. This is really, really good information. You talked about highlights. If it's not a need for you, you're gonna send it to somebody else. You're gonna send them their highlights. Please talk about highlights. Like,
Yes. Okay, ladies, listen, pin the highlights to your Twitter accounts. Please pin
Mhm,
them up there because I'm super, and this isn't a plug to go follow me on Twitter, but that's my favorite platform. Maybe Instagram too, is probably like a close second. But there's so many times where I'll just spend looking at highlights. If
mm,
somebody like likes something or send it, oh, let me check it out. We have a kid on our roster now, honestly, it's because she posted her highlights, and I was like, let me check. And then I realized there was some connection there, so
mhm,
I went through, followed up. But yeah, just really, posting your highlights and then being updating the highlights too. So
mhm,
it's okay now to have, you know, July highlights when you played, but once you get in December, there should be something, because then that's almost like a red flag for us too, unless you're hurt or injured. It's like, okay, you had July, but we didn't see anything else till the next July, so you didn't play for your high school team, or what happened? There should be some kind of quarterly update highlights, but
mhm.
pin them. And then when you go to send, like, I spoke to a kid the other night, honestly, because how she worded her email. And she said, we have a big Halloween party that we do every year with our team. Everybody has to dress up. You can bring your plus one as long as they dress up to you. And then it's like a big karaoke party at the end. But in her email, she talked about the Halloween party. And so in my mind, it's like, okay, you not only are interested in us, but you've also taken it a little further where you've added something like personal. So more times than not, they are getting a response compared to someone else, just because it shows a little. It's not your generic copy. We can tell the
Mhm.
copy and paste if you're really interested. If you say you're really interested in our program, but you don't know of all the, at least 15 plus podcasts that I've done, that we shoot threes and layups and we play a 5 up motion, and you want to talk about ball screen and mid range, you didn't look us up.
Yeah.
So this conversation isn't going to go far because that's
Mhm.
not what we do.
Yep. Yep. And how long should these highlight tapes be? What should be in them? Are y'all really looking at these layups and free throws?
Not the free throws. Y'all can keep the free throws. Keep the free throws for, I don't know, maybe the free throws if you're big, if you don't have a chance to, really like shoot the ball, but save the free, and then also save the starting lineup. I don't want to see no, save that. We just I want just the layups. I want a little defense. Can you rebound, ball handling, and decision making? Can I get the rebound and go? And then let the clip play all the way through, whether they make the shot or not. We really don't care. We just want to see the decision making of it, and then
Mhm.
keep it about 3 minutes. 4 minutes on the high end. Anything five or over, you might as well send us a full game
Yeah.
at that point. But probably like 3 to 5 minutes, and have a little bit of everything. And even if it is, a hustle play where you've had to have active hands and you get a deflection on the ball. Again, maybe you guys don't come up with it, but sometimes it's not always you finishing something positive at the end of that. It's the effort that it took to get into that, if that makes sense.
Yep. Now that makes sense. As we kind of start wrapping this up, I want to kind of bring it back to just like AAU youth industry. Me personally, I'm an AAU director, and I think the AAU is just very chaotic. That's the word I'm gonna go with. I think it's chaotic, and I really think it's just because a lot of people just don't know at the end of the day, and they need to hear things like this. What do you think is the biggest issue in AAU?
I like your chaotic word, but I think the biggest issue right now is everybody thinks that everybody thinks that I can just go create a team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of the programs that have been around, or some of the programs that are trying to get started and do it the right way. Sometimes it's so, be okay with maybe somebody else coaching your child differently than you are. But I think the biggest thing with AU is it's so much more infight. Y'all might be more ruthless than we are at the college level. Like, I'm gonna go get her. Well,
Listen, they don't be playing. They won't
no,
even wait to the after the game. They are talking to the
no.
parent. They're talking to the kid.
Yeah, y'all are a whole different breed over there. And I think, you hear it all the time. You say, "Oh, I'm in it for the kids. I'm in it for the kids." We really be in it for the kids,
Mm-hmm.
in it for the like what's really going to be the best fit for them. And it may not be your program, and be okay with that. It may be them playing somewhere else and doing well that way. But one of my biggest pet peeves is say, "I'm doing this for the kids. I'm doing this for the kids." But then when you watch how they move, and nothing says this is about the kids or for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So not losing sight of, you guys are at a pivotal point of their careers in a sense of they're working to get to the college level. And so a lot
Yeah.
of what you're able to learn and teach them, they're paying attention to it all. They're hearing everything, whether it's like the infighting or things like that. So that I would agree with you that chaos is probably the biggest thing, but then the uncertainty too.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some kids don't even know if they should really try to, you know, stick it out and stay on Ashley's team because of everything else that they're hearing. So the
Mm-hmm.
uncertainty, I feel like, is the biggest thing that's getting in the way of um, your level because we're trying to worry about the next thing before we take in my Don Staley voice, before we take care of the main thing. You got to
Yeah.
take care of the main thing, which is your thing. But the uncertainty, I feel like, is causing a lot of chaos for the athletes and for the parents because I think I want to be able to trust you, but I'm hearing this, that, and the third.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I signed up to play for you. I can't, as I tell people in the recruiting process, don't call me and ask me what I think about anybody else. I work at the University of Denver, and that's who I'm recruiting for. I don't have the energy to tell you, well, you shouldn't go there because of this. I don't work there. I work here. I
Mm-hmm.
can tell you what we offer and what we bring. And I think if that same approach was applied in AAU, then it'd be like a lot less infighting and things like that. You can just focus on what you have, and if it works for some, great. And if it doesn't, pat it on the back and keep it moving.
Yep. No, I love that. And on the flip side, I think one of the best things I think about AAU is really I use the word exposure lightly, but exposure, just being able to see so many other people highlight girls basketball, put things out on girls basketball. What is something that you would say is just the most exciting thing or a good thing about AAU basketball?
I do love the idea that you can watch a team from Texas, you can watch a team from Alabama and California all compete in the same place. And
Mm.
I love when, kids are like, oh, I met her at this camp. And to be able to kind of see, okay, I've been working this hard to compete against some of the best. This is somebody different, somebody new. I think you guys do a phenomenal job of putting the girls in a situation to be seen, to get the exposure and then kind of what they do with it after that, I feel like is on them. But I do love when you're in some random place and there's teams that you don't necessarily expect to be there,
Mhm.
expect to travel. I think it shows investment, not only in those programs, but the parents and players that they put in there. And then I think that I love all the little like highlight accounts, whether it's like, again, if you lose a game by 20, this is probably the other part that we're all dealing with in social media. But to see, someone still get highlighted because they did have a nice move, and maybe you don't know, maybe that's a move she's been working on for a month. So we're just like, okay, well, you lost a game, okay, but you don't know how hard she's been working to get that move and to kind of get that moment, whether it's going viral or just getting a little love. I love that part about social media that you can see some kids whether they're going to come and play here or not, but just kind of see their hard work pay off. And I think you guys are at an important part to kind of help start that process.
Yep. We can end it with that. That was pretty good. I like to end with rapid fire. I think I say this
Oh,
every
that's it.
episode. See, I say this every episode that I need to find another name. Nobody has gave me a name yet because it's not technically rapid fire. It's rapid fire is supposed to be
Okay.
quick, but we gonna keep going with rapid fire for now. So we got rapid fire. I got 5 things for you, and you just answer. We're probably gonna talk as you answer it, which is why it's not rapid fire. So you
Okay.
ready?
Yep.
Biggest coaching ick.
Ooh, this is a good one. Biggest coaching. Chewing gum on the sidelines. Coaches that chew gum, because I used to chew gum and we had our first TV game and I was like, what in the world? So yeah, that's probably, I don't know if it's my biggest, but it's definitely up there.
I'll take that. What makes a good kid to coach? A great kid to coach.
Coachable, one that does not mind hearing feedback and then trying to apply it consistently and
Mm-hmm.
not getting frustrated because you just asked me to say that or you just said that. So kids that don't mind feedback, and they don't mind applying the feedback and then circling back around. Did I do that right?
Mm-hmm.
So a coachable kid, but one that doesn't mind hearing hard things and trying to apply those hard things.
I like that. The number one thing every athlete must have to be considered a good basketball player.
Ball handling. You got to have some
Okay.
handles.
You got to be able to handle the ball.
Yeah, handle the ball because it's like you can say you can shoot all that, but yeah, for me it's got to be a little ball handling. Yeah,
What's
yeah,
your
which is contradiction because I would say we want threes and layups, but
See, I was
I
gonna
would
say,
say
I
a
thought you was
shot.
gonna say a shooter. That's what I thought you were
Yeah,
saying.
I was gonna say the shooter, but I felt like that's gonna be too obvious. So, and the shooter's given is a given. So, yeah, I don't know. I say handles. Now look, you're making me switch my mind because it is gonna be your handles. Handles don't get you points, as I say, as I tell the team. You don't get points for style. This isn't gymnastics. You know, we get points when the ball goes in the basket.
There you go. Your best memory as a coach.
Oh God, this. Oh, I got a lot of. I'm just gonna use my time here. I'm probably gonna say we played a quadruple overtime game at Butler and won, and we were on Sports Center. So that's just my like Denver memory here. And then last year we won at South Dakota for the first time in
Nice.
Vermilion. I would say those two things because in 23 years there's a lot. So I'll just use my time here
Okay, we
because
can
it's
do
lost.
that.
I
Now,
wanted to circle back around to your first one though. It's like coaching ick.
uh-huh.
I'm saying for other coaches that like chew gum and coach, but um, players that walk everywhere on the
Oh,
court, like the walking. Which if y'all watch my team playing and walking, trust me, I'm a broken record. I say it all the time. The walking, it drives me nuts. So the walking on the court in between the lines, walk on your own time, not mine.
yeah, that'll get a kid kicked out of practice for me. I don't like the walking. I turn into a different person. I don't like the walking at all. At all.
See, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
You not the only one. Okay. You won the game. Would you prefer it be a game winning 3 from your team or a game winning and 1? I feel like I
Game
know
winning
that.
three,
I
yeah.
was just gonna
Yeah,
say, as I
it's
said that out
game
loud, I
winning
was like,
three.
I know this answer. I'm
Yeah,
substituting
definitely
that
game
one.
winning three.
I'm substituting that one. We're gonna do a 5 and a bonus because I already knew that answer.
Okay, get the bonus.
All right. That's
Give me
one.
my and one then. Give me my and one.
Because I knew it was gonna be a game winning 3. I guess no question, but talk to us about Denver. What do we need to know about you guys? Why should a kid come to the school? Just give us some information.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think what you should know is this is my fourth year, and the first 2 years were in COVID. So I really say this is in that like rebuild stage now. Division One couldn't recruit off campus in COVID,
Mhm.
and so being behind a little bit then. But I really couple things. As I said earlier, love coaching high school kids, love the 4 year kids. I love that development process. Now, with that, you get a young team, but you have a chance to develop. I feel like we have a fun style where, yes, it's threes and layups, requires a little rate of reaction and structure to it. But we're not walking the ball up. We want to play up tempo. We want to push the pace. Academically, we're one of the top schools, especially in business, if that's what you're interested in. And then socially, I talk to our players all the time is when we're not playing basketball, go enjoy the city, go have a life, go do something. Our only team role is to make good choices, and you know what that is. And if not, then we're there to help guide you with what is a good choice. But I think what they know is Denver, we're in the Summer League, and it's our goal that you're going to think about the Summer League and think about us in the same sense, just because we're at the top of the conference. It's a place that we know we're capable of cutting down nets, and we're working towards that championship mindset pretty much every day. And lastly, if you're not having fun, it's not worth doing. And we try to play hard, coach hard, and have a lot of fun along the way.
Give me an extra year. I think I can go back for a COVID
Can
year.
you shoot? Can you
Listen, that's
shoot?
that's the one thing I can do. I'm a shooter. I like to say I'm the best shooter around here. So
Okay,
if you got
you
number
gotta know, man.
five, you got number
Okay.
5. Give me a jersey.
Okay. Well,
There's
you had to pick. I would say you had to pick another one. I don't know if you can do 55. Can you do
nah,
55?
14. What about 14?
14. Look, girl, don't get me lying. Let me see if we got any 14s. I feel like I need a roster because I know as soon as you say something, somebody's gonna be like, Coach, you didn't
That
say
was
our
my
number
number.
14. Look, I don't know if we have a 14. I know we have a 13.
At
I
this
know we
point,
have
I
a,
don't even care. I can stand in the corner and shoot
yeah,
some threes.
yeah,
I'm
just
good for that.
exact. Well, now you know, I don't know when you play, but now you know that the 3-point line's a little further back though. So how them legs
I shoot
looking?
deep. I always shoot deep, so it's cool. That's what
The
I do.
shooters shoot. It don't matter. It
Shooter,
don't matter.
shooter, shoot.
Yeah,
Shooter, shoot.
same,
Now this was
same.
this was really good. I like to end. I started with what's different in youth basketball from recruiting. I like to end with the person. So what would be different? Well, two things. What would be different with you within the next 3 to 5 years, and what would be different at the University of Denver with girls basketball within 3 to 5 years?
Well, definitely, we have one banner up for women's basketball in terms of going to the NCAA tournament, and in 3 to 5 years, I hope to add to that, if not one, but two. And I think what would be different, and I think in 3 to 5 years with Denver women's basketball, it's my goal for people to think of Summit League and it's like our team is the first team that comes to mind because
Hmm.
you're going to have to be prepared for us. Our team is going to be like, oh yeah, that's a team, that's the conference that Denver's in because we've been dominating in that way. And for me as a person, I want to continue to work on my patience. To work on my patience of just navigating all the different layers, whether it's the team, staff, managing up. But what would be different in 3 to 5 years for me is just a little bit more to be better at having patience and clarity from what I need from people and how quickly I need it and why I need it, and to be consistent in my approach that way.
Well, there you have it. I love it. Coach, I definitely enjoyed talking with you. Please tell the people where they can find you. And if you could leave a message for parents, players, AAU coaches, whoever you want to leave a message for. Um, yeah, that's all I got.
Yes. Well, you can find me on Twitter, X. They're all the same.
I still call it
Dosh
Twitter.
Woods. Okay, thank you. Me too. Okay. On Twitter and Instagram, my handles are the same. Dosh Woods, DOSHWODS. You can find me on both of those. Neither one of those are private profiles because I can't ask you to say, oh, pin your highlights or send me a message and everything's locked. So I keep it open, honestly, for a lot of recruiting reasons. And you pretty much can get an idea of how I move, how I coach. And then for DU underscore WHOOPS, both Instagram and Twitter, you can follow our program. That way, have a lot of fun, and not only a lot of fun, but I think it's also a lot of growth too that people can see throughout this whole process. Because again, as I tell our players, we're playing maybe 40 games a year, but there's so much more happening those other days that we want to make sure that we're enjoying the journey and highlighting that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Message for the parents, AU, um, be honest with yourself about where you want to play, where your skill set is, and then be consistent in the work. And then ask yourself, do my actions align with the goals I'm trying to reach? And if those two things don't match up, then you might want to find, the goals and the action that you're willing to put in to get those two things to match up. So if it's a Division 1 goal that you have for yourself, do you feel like you're giving a Division 1 effort? And if you're not sure what that looks like, reach out to someone who's been there. Reach out to someone who's been there and ask them what it looks like. But to be honest and be realistic about where you want to play, then be consistent to make it happen.
I love it. I love it. Another great episode. Thank y'all for tuning in to what episode is this? I can't say what episode this is because again, I don't know when it's dropping. But thank y'all for tuning into another episode. If you have not subscribed, like y'all are watching this, but I need you to hit the button, like subscribe, and like follow Apple and Spotify. And if you're not following on Instagram, it's just different pod. Twitter, same exact thing. It's just different pod. But I'm on Instagram, so follow the Instagram page.
Okay.
Again, thank y'all, and we'll be back for another episode.